Hey guys, MCU Collector here, and we have the 7th video, the final figure before we get to the Build-A-Figure. This is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series X-Men Wave 4 Caliban Build-A-Figure Skullbuster. Now, Skullbuster is a member of the Reavers. I did do very little research, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not real familiar with the Reavers other than they are a villainous group as part of the X-Men, usually mainly to Wolverine. But anyway, the interchangeable head that he comes with, that's why I wanted to look it up. And from what I can gather, it looks like Murray Reese or just Reese. So you kind of have a second figure in one. Or you can use that head and pop it on a Nuke figure back from the Civil War, Captain America Civil War wave Giant Man Build-A-Figure. And that would probably look more like the character from the comics. And I will actually get out my Nuke figure later so I can show you that, because I think it actually looked really cool. And then that's not originally my idea, but now that I had seen it, but shout out to Mitch BB on Instagram. He had shown me a picture of that, or he had asked me about it and stuff. So there's that. But pretty cool. So Skullbuster down there. The side artwork looks pretty awesome. Looks very menacing. So that's really cool. That we're getting some of the Reavers. I know Dwight Stahl. Those are his favorite characters, and he wants to do more and more Reavers. So in this particular case, he's getting 2 out at one time. So awesome there. All the figures in the wave. Artwork looking awesome. Let's take a look at that bio. Okay, Skullbuster. An enemy of the X-Men, the cyborg Skullbuster is a member of the villainous gang called the Reavers. I guess there wasn't a whole lot of information there other than he's part of the Reavers. And then here is the UPC for everybody. Now let's get to it and open this figure up. Alright, here is the Skullbuster figure out of the package, and you know what? Before when this wave was announced, I'm thinking, oh, Skullbuster, okay, it's just not a big deal, it's just a figure to add in. For me anyways, but looking at this guy, this figure is pretty awesome. Lots of cool things. Just the overall design of it is really cool, and it just looks fantastic. There's a lot of reused parts in this figure, and there's some new things, but it's basically like a retooled Deathlok figure, but there are some new things. There's some things that are really cool. The highlight for me is actually this additional interchangeable head, the Reese Murray one, because this thing is pretty awesome. And then we'll take a close look at this. We'll take a close look at the gun before we look at the figure and go over the articulation and all of that. He does come with the last piece for Caliban, which is his right arm. We will take a look at that in its own video next after this one, actually. But let's take a look at that gun and that head. Okay, so first we look at the gun. The gun looks pretty awesome, but it's just done in a flat greenish army color. But the sculpted detailing of it does look really good. I like the way it looks. But again, there's no paint detail on it whatsoever. The scope is the same color and everything. It fits well in his right hand, and the trigger finger actually just barely fits in that trigger. But it does look good, so can't complain. Even though the artwork shows a bigger, longer gun, this is the one that he came with. But looking at this head sculpt, just how awesome does this head sculpt look? How cool is that? Get a normal head with this helmet on top, and you got this clear translucent part of the helmet over it. It does not open up or anything, but it just came out looking really good. He has big old scar on his face. You could clearly see the eyes. So this thing is very well done. You get the communication device that can kind of be moved, but it just, because it's so flexible, it can kind of move out of the way. It doesn't actually have any kind of articulation or hinge there, but it comes through. And then you could just look at the sculpted detail. Looks awesome. They even went ahead and painted this little section for where his hair would be. Just a really awesome looking head sculpt. So I can't wait to try this guy on this figure, and then also try it on the Nuke figure, where it's probably going to look even better. So really cool. I like that. Okay, so getting a close-up look at this figure, it's actually it's actually almost completely just a repaint of Deathlok. Obviously, we get a different head and a new vest, but other than that, the figure is completely the same, just different paint color. We have Deathlok here, and you could see that the metal for his arms and stuff was a little bit shinier and stuff, but it's the same figure. Everything about this figure is the same except for the ammo across the chest. Whoops! That Deathlok does not have, but the rest of the figure, again, is the same, down to the same arms, the same hands even. Everything about this figure is the same, just a different color paint scheme. Torso is the same, I verified, and stuff there. You could see the port there where the hose would have been, like for Deathlok. Actually, it's so dark you may not see it. Where the flag was painted on Deathlok over there. So it's the same figure. The difference is on the belt, though, here there's just kind of a notch there. On Deathlok, you had this little power pack, the yellow power pack on the back, because that tube went into the front. Whereas obviously this guy does not have that. But everything else about it is the same, including the gun, which I did not realize that Deathlok actually came with the same gun, but better painted because it's kind of a metallic color. But it is the same gun even, actually. So again, it's just basically a repaint, but this is the type of repaint that I don't mind because the figure looks very different. It was only not until I really got it next to Deathlok that I really noticed that it's almost, you know, it's entirely the same, but it works really well. I really like the way it looks. You know, we got this nice brown color for the knee pads, the boots. He's basically the clothing that he's wearing is black, and then he has all the cybernetic parts of the legs, the right arm. He has the regular arm here. One thing that's a little bit tough is that the paint is a little bit sloppy there. Wish we've gotten a little bit of an extra coat because the arm is the color of this gauntlet piece. And then you could see it's really bleeding through over the skin tone there. It's not terrible, but I would have preferred, you know, a little bit better paint apps there. So that's a little bit of the sloppiness rearing its ugly head in the X-Men wave, but not so bad. One thing that I really like is this head sculpt. I'm trying to think if this head sculpt wasn't painted the way it was, if it's something that we've seen already, and nothing is coming to mind. I'm trying to think of any bald characters that we've had. But I really can't think of anything. But one thing I thought this scar, that crack there, was going to be sculpted. It is not. That is actually paint. And what it kind of looks like, it looks like they used some of the digital print type of technology for this face paint that he has on his face, and that's why it looks so good and came out looking so smooth. Because of how it looks. He's got red eyes, just really awesome. Now on the vest, there's a little bit of paint on there, so the zipper itself is actually painted here, which I'm kind of surprised that actually Hasbro went to the lengths to actually paint on that zipper. That was pretty cool. The buckle there, the other side zipper, and then the ammo clip, you know, a little bit of too much green paint going onto that clip, not a problem. This shoulder pad is done in a kind of a silver gunmetal color. Now on the back is a different story. You know, those gun clips, they did not get painted, so there's just all green. Those ammo shells back there did not get painted. It's just all green. But this other shoulder pad with the spikes, that did get painted as well. And this brown matches the gauntlets, matches the belt, and matches the boots. So still a very, very awesome looking figure. Actually looks like there should be a knife there that's sculpted in. That's, even though the handle is just kind of green there. But does look really good. I really do like this figure. Now let's zoom out. We'll take a look at the articulation, compare him with Deathlok, and then we'll also take a look at Nuke so we could switch the heads and do all that cool stuff. Okay, so let's go over the articulation of Skullbuster. So you can see he stands about 6 3/4 inches tall. So he is a good size figure. Whoops. So let's go right to it. So the head, it's a little bit difficult, but you can get him to look all the way down, which is great. You can get him to look up, which is good as well. There is an ab crunch in there that works quite well. You can get good motion there. Back ever so slightly. The vest kind of gets it in the way of that. The shoulders can come all the way out. This is pliable and flexible enough where it's not going to hinder too much. You could get a full rotation if you really wanted to, but there's no point with those shoulders there. There is an upper bicep swivel. You get a double jointed elbow, which looks good. And then you also get a swivel at the wrist, and then the wrists do hinge. It is important to note that the right hand has a roll of the dice hinge on it. There is a waist swivel, of course. The legs go out that far apart, so there's good motion there. You get an upper thigh cut, of course. Leg goes out that far. Can go back a little bit, which is nice because a lot of times they don't. You get a very good double jointed knee, and because it's a knee pad, it doesn't look weird or anything, so I do like the way that looks. There is a boot cut, and you do get a great hinge at the ankle, going all the way down, all the way up. and then of course ankle pivot. So great articulation on this guy. Awesome figure. Now let's do some head swaps and check out how he looks. I'm actually going to zoom in for you guys on this. Okay, just to see how the additional interchangeable head looks on this Skullbuster figure, and pop that one off. Pops off very easily. Pop that one on, and that looks actually kind of funky. Not terrible, but you know, not great. Not as good as I would have hoped that it would have looked. So we're going to try this head on the Nuke figure. So let's pop that off. Pop this one back on. We'll keep him in the background. We'll bring out the Nuke figure. Get rid of that gun. Pop that head off. Let's pop this Reese head on this guy. And of course it doesn't want to cooperate. And that looks better, especially a little bit more accurate to how Reese looks in the comics. However, that head is very small compared to the body, so that's a little unfortunate. Yeah, it just doesn't quite look right. It fits on there perfectly, but it seems way too small. So yeah. Don't really like the way that looks. Okay, and here is Skullbuster next to Forge, because in the comics, Forge actually kills Skullbuster, and then they get a female Skullbuster, and then there's a different character that takes up the Skullbuster mantle or whatever it is. This is being the original. But anyway, Forge does kill him, so it's nice that they put the two in the same wave, and I believe that was done on purpose. So that is pretty cool there. But that is my review. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. Let me know what you guys think of the figure. For me, I'm pleasantly surprised. I think it has a great design to it, and it just looks awesome in any display. Will we get more Reavers in the future? I think so. Dwight Stahl really wants to get those out there. You know, who else wants a figure of a tank with a head on it, or, you know, half a body with lower body being a tank? So really cool stuff with the Reavers. I'm sure we will get more in the future. But there it is. So if you guys hit that thumbs up for me if you guys liked the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and as always, thank you for watching.